Hello, and thanks for tuning into the very first episode of the Hungry Artist podcast. I'm your host, Kaitlin Moose, and this is a project that I've had in my brain for a couple of years now. In fact, this first episode was recorded last year, so it has been a minute. It's been a long time coming. I'm so excited to finally present to you this first episode with Mico Montes and Cassie Lesko. We talk all about their first feature film that they went about creating in a pretty unique way. It was created in 6 short film installments, and we go into that process for them, as well as some really great advice for actors coming from an independent filmmaker mindset, as well as the writing process. A lot of great information there. And of course, they've come so much further on the project that we discuss in this episode. So you can check it out at bareskinthemovie.com. That's Bareskin, B-A-R-E, skinthemovie.com. Check out all of their amazing work. And I hope you really enjoy this episode with Mico and Cassie. Well, welcome Cassie and Mico to the Hungry Artist podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
please.
for having us.
Yeah.
And you
What's
guys,
up?
of course, so, what's up? You guys are obviously have your production company, Opening Image Productions, which we're going to get all into, of course. But I want to start with, where did you start? And how did you come to LA? And how did you decide, I'm going to be an artist. This is what I'm going after. This is the decision. Or was it a decision?
I'm gonna be an artist.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's for a lot of people. But Mico can definitely start, because originally I know, although I've always loved movies, I know this is like his true passion, his true dream, and I just happened to hop on the train at the right time and right opportunity to be a part of it. So I'm very grateful. So
I think it's interesting you said I make the decision to be I'm gonna be an artist, because I was, for a long time, I was working towards my goals, and then there might have been a moment I feel like, just some self-reflection, where you're like, am I an artist? Because you think an artist is like a painter or something. That's something that pops in your mind. And a filmmaker, especially someone that's kind of putting a director hat on, you're bringing other talent in.
Mm.
But then there was some point maybe I am an artist.
But you're a writer. You write screenplays.
Yeah.
Creative writing and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's still all part of you're creating, you're putting things out there. I think that's art in different mediums, no?
Right.
I guess it just maybe took a while for me to think of myself that way.
Well, okay, so was there a decision then to do filmmaking as the full-time passion?
Yeah, I mean that was always because I grew up in Ohio, and there's nothing there for film. So the first step, any filmmaker or actor, I think, is you have to move to probably LA, but at least a prominent
Bigger
city,
bigger hub.
Yeah. And so I moved here and just jumped right into it. I went to OCC and just got my feet wet, and then I was in a writing group for 8 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was probably my university. The school was good, to meet people and kind of just, learn some craft. And it was really, you got out of it what you put into it. But the writing group was really where I learned what story is, and getting some value.
Was that a self put together group, or was it something you applied for and it was kind of like a school that way? What was the group?
Yeah, it was a private, and I had a friend that was going to it, and someone was leading it, and I think it fluctuated over the 8 years, anywhere from half a dozen to a dozen people in the group. You'd see some people come and go, and some more serious than others.
But nice to have that accountability and people that maybe you can trust for good, truthful feedback.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think too, it's when it comes to making these decisions that you want to do, film with your life or whatnot, I think a lot of it is instillment. Mico told me, living in Ohio, he'd go outside and play and do stuff with his friends, but he rented movies nonstop. That's all he did was write movies or watch movies, where I think it was already something instilled in you. Like, you can make different decisions throughout your life of different passions or things you want to pursue, but it's interesting how many people you hear, like, from a young age, they knew what they wanted to do with their lives. Like, he
Right.
loved movies. He spent hundreds of hours watching movies and knew, like, this is what I want to do, and moved somewhere where he knew he was going to be able to pursue it a little more seriously than Ohio. So,
Right.
yeah, it's awesome. I loved movies, so it's fun to kind of just be able to learn how to do them, make them, the process, pre-production, all of that. When before I had no clue, I just enjoyed watching them. It was a passion, and then you're like, wow, this is a great outlet to be able to do these things. So, yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Were you going to say something, Mico?
I was just saying, I thought, thought it would always be nice to like find a partner that um, was already making films, and when Cassie and I met, she wasn't into it, but when we started, she like, you just saw like the hunger.
I already had a
open.
passion for movies, just no like connections, like I'm from Vegas. So for me, it was always this lifestyle of like working in the like families that work in the casino and entertainment industry and clubs and all that. And it just really wasn't my thing. That when I moved here, LA is so eclectic with being like whatever kind of art or passion you want to pursue. LA is like the hub for everything. And so it was great to move somewhere where I tell my friends now, I'm like, yeah, I'm in the middle of making a feature film movie, like doing all the set design on a feature film. They're like, what? You're not just
like, no big deal.
Yes, yeah. So it's very cool to be able to have those opportunities out here that you can't have everywhere else, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And what you were saying about starting from an early age, I went and checked out Miko's YouTube channel,
Oh
and
God!
you've got. I did. Get
How,
ready.
how far did
I'm
you
sorry.
or how far did you dig?
Oh, I did a deep dive. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to say because you've got things from like 15 years ago,
Mhm.
I
and
was like a kid.
yeah, but like it's all there. Like you've got overlays and like the camera movement going around the two actors and like the four panels and oh my gosh, can I just say I watched Count Hines and
Oh,
I died laughing. Like that it was
You're
so
showing me that.
good.
I was so impressed.
that's got to
Yeah.
be like 15 plus years old. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was like all the talent and potential and drive, it's all there. Like
Had to go. Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
so
that was.
fun.
Yeah. I
Oh,
watched it and I remember being so impressed. I'm like, why didn't that win? That was so like kind of dark, morbid humor, but so funny.
Oh, was
That would
it
have
a challenge?
Yeah, it was
yeah.
a challenge. Yeah.
Oh.
But maybe
Yeah, yeah.
even 15 years ago, it being like blood, like the joke is that like it's like blood ketchup,
Right.
But
Right.
now I feel a lot of people would maybe like think that was really funny,
Oh,
you
it's
know.
hilarious. I was like, I could see this in festivals now. It's so funny. Like the story is so good. It's all there. Oh
It's
my
funny.
gosh.
And that's
Yeah.
that might be good. This is something I like to share. Is that I feel like a film, like there's all these different parts, but like if you lock down three parts of a film, three most important parts are the screenplay, the story, the talent, the actors that you're bringing in, and the location. And that
Mm.
little contest we shot it in a castle. So
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna
like,
ask you where the heck did you get a castle?
Yeah, where was that again?
it's called it's in Loveland, Ohio,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
and it's
Ah.
called the Rock Castle, but it's the words in French, I think.
We want to go
Mhm.
visit it. You've showed me photos of that before, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one man. When he was like 30, he started bringing up rocks from the river, and over like 60 years, he built the castle all by himself. And he
What?
passed away when he was, I don't know, like 80, 90 or something.
That is
Yeah.
And
so
the castle
cool.
looks beautiful. Like the photos, I'm like, whoa, that's in Ohio. Like we need to do that somewhere. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
So when are we getting that movie, Rock Castle, the making of movie?
Oh, yeah. I like that.
That's so fun. Well, so you definitely lean more towards horror, thriller. Is there something about that genre in particular that really speaks to you?
Yeah, I mean, I like, and I would say specifically in horror, I like macabre.
Or macabre, yeah. We
Yeah,
say macabre. I think it's pronounced differently, but we like
macabre.
seeing the letters. Really, we're gonna say what we see.
I also like in every screenplay.
Macabre. No.
Macabre.
Macabre.
Yeah.
I also like to make up one word in each screenplay at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like throw in a new word in there. People are like, "What is this? This isn't in the dictionary." Um, but yeah, and it's like anywhere from like I have one screenplay that's a romantic comedy horror, and then I have on the other side of the spectrum I have an erotic thriller horror, which is like the 1980s like erotic thrillers, but like
Mm.
put on its side, like
Yeah.
twisted a little bit. So I the whole spectrum of horror, you know.
Yeah, I've read when we first started dating, 6 months later COVID happened and we were quarantined together. So that was really a test of like being confined together for long periods of time.
Right.
So we read like a lot of his screenplays, and they're awesome. They're just very entertaining, and there's a lot of like stuff with like life and love and very like vital important things. I think there's like a romanticism to writing horror. There really has to be like um
It's
you
like
have
world building.
yeah, you have to have like an infatuation with understanding darkness also exists with the light. Like people
Mm.
make films or comedies or everything, and there's always some sort of conflict, some sort of darkness, because like that's the balance to good or to things going great. And so I think horror is really interesting because it does the opposite. There's a lot of darkness, there's a lot of negativity and mystere, but there's always this like little bead of positive light that comes out of it at the end for the characters or for the story. So there's like a yin and yang to like positive comedy, good love movies, and then the horror. There's that little white dot in that yin yang. So
Yeah, I think a lot of
yeah,
my stories have the theme of love and death.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
And that's what drew Cassie to you. No.
It's weird. Like, so you see our living room. I came to visit a friend here, and I remember first walking in the front door in this home, and I was like, I don't know if this is a guy's house, a girl's house, but whoever's home this is, I want to be their friend.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Like, I want to know this person no matter what. And so we became friends, and then, both started dating. And I was like, I think our souls kind of matched. I was like, I love your house. Just
Aw,
saying. Yeah. And I
that's
do all the
amazing.
designs. So I already was like doing like interior design type of stuff and enjoying design. I already enjoyed seeing what I had to here. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. I was actually just talking to another filmmaker friend today, and she was discussing how, sometimes she wants to try these experimental or abstract ideas, but she thinks like people won't get it or go for it. And I was like, I think we as filmmakers just have to like choose and do what speaks to our heart, and then when you put it out there, the people that also get it will come. Like, it your vibe attracts your tribe, essentially. Like,
Yeah,
those
Yeah.
people will find your stuff and they'll fall in love with it the same way that you like saw the house and you're like, okay, this is it, this is what I'm here for too. But if you're not that concrete in what you're like, this is what I'm doing, and owning it, then it might be muddied and people can't find your message.
and I think that's
Right.
what's really important about making art is being honest.
Mm.
Just speaking yourself.
Yeah. Sense of self identity. This is who I am. This is the type of writing or acting or art I'm bringing to the table. This is what I want people to like remember me for. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
So he was in The Mandalorian, and we're gonna nerd out here for.
Love
But
it.
Yes.
Go for it.
On our nerd glasses.
I guess there was this like scene with like the filmmakers, and they brought in the the baby Yoda, and they did the scene, and they're like, oh, Warner, amazing. He's like, I, he does it in his like Bavarian accent, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna do another take, and he's like, why? And he's like, because we're gonna do this like green screen item instead.
CGI Baby Yoda,
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, but which one do you prefer? And he said, well, we prefer the puppet, but we want to do the green screen for safety. And he says, don't be a coward, And then he refused to do the green screen.
Nice.
Yeah. We like practicals. We like to do things. Yeah. And so we appreciate those Star Wars, even the newer Star Wars, when they still will throw in like buttons that look real versus 3D buttons,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I definitely want to. I'm trying to hold off on all the production because I have so many like design questions and all of that. But while we're still kind of in the beginning parts, are there filmmakers and people who inspired you? You said you grew up watching all of these films, and it seems like you've been able to develop this style. Are you pulling from any inspiration in particular?
I mean, my favorite filmmaker is Christopher Nolan, but I don't really he doesn't make horror films, I guess. But
there are some dark moments in a lot of his movies, though.
Yeah,
we'll give it that.
My two favorite films are Inception and Lawrence of Arabia, which aren't my genre at all. And when I think like if I pick a genre to watch, it's always like sci-fi. But I don't think there's anyone for horror that I draw from for movies. I think it's more like just images.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that, we can draw inspiration from anywhere. It doesn't even have to be films. And you just take like a little bit here and you're like, oh, I like this little piece of music and I like this painting and then, these colors, and it's all like this wonderful amalgamation.
Right.
And I think that's really important too as a filmmaker, is not to hire crew, but bring people on that want to collaborate with you. Because you have a story or a screenplay and you're trying to tell that story, but you also have like a theme, or a thesis that you're trying to get across, and you want everyone saying that thesis, but in their own language. So you want the gaffer saying it in lighting, you want costume saying it in their
each department to kind of resonate what you're wanting.
Yeah. They're saying the same word, but in a different color.
Yeah.
It makes any
I like
sense.
that. It does make sense. Totally. Yeah, let's talk about your feature film, Bearskin, right? So this is being made in, oh, I like that.
Bearskin.
Yeah, tell us about it. Because it's being filmed in a very fun, maybe slightly different way. So tell us about the process and what it's about.
Okay. Yeah, so we're doing these shorts and we're happy with them for, a while. And but I just felt like business model wise, you need to make a feature, but it's a lot to put a feature together. So I thought, okay, well, why don't I approach it from like an anthology series? And I was thinking first like something like VHS or but then I was like, I want the stories to be more connected, and I had a couple of shorts already that were good for production, and I was like, okay, well, how can I tie these stories together? And so we came up with this concept that all these characters in our story are coming to like a group therapy session, and one by one, it's the first time in this group. They share those individual stories, and we get to see their flashback. So we made this movie through individual shorts, and we kind of like tested the water with the first one because that was the difficult one to pull off, I guess.
Cassie's got something to say.
No, there was one day on the first one we were making it, and because we were building a big set.
We were
Mm.
building a big set, just us
Yeah.
in our
Oh,
backyard, the
wow.
first like 3 months of COVID. So we were going to Home Depot like every other day and just built this huge set in the backyard for like 3 months
The
straight.
Yeah.
reason the wood prices went up so much, you guys' set.
Yeah.
We woke up. We were working on it every day. I woke up one day and I was sore too, and Cassie looked at me and she's like, "No, not today."
I'm a very yes man kind of girlfriend. I say yes to everything. If he needs anything, I say yes. I'm yes, yes, yes. But there was just one day I finally was like, no.
You're like,
No,
this,
that's how
not
bad it
today.
was. That's how bad it was. I finally was like, no, not today.
Oh
Um,
no.
but it was a great process, and shooting the film was amazing. We took all the precautions during COVID. I think that was a lot for actors and filmmakers and crew dealing with those kind of things. During COVID, they had to slow down their passion or the jobs
Yeah.
they were getting because of all that just coming to a halt. So it was nice to be able to be safe and get all the proper things done for the movie and
Was
just,
this desensitized or is this a different installment?
A man eclipsed.
yeah.
Oh, the
A little longer than a few minutes later.
edited, so no spoilers. Okay.
No problem.
Okay, so you're doing Bearskin. You've got these 6 short films that you're creating in order to make it into that feature. So first off, you said like that from a business aspect, doing the feature film is better. Can you describe your thought process with that a little more or explain why?
Yeah, it's like a feature you can get distribution for, and you can
Okay.
sell, and then you can keep it on your docket, and it can make money for you each year, and you can, there's things like Film Hub or something like that that will accept a short,
Hmm.
and you can make a little money, but it's not
They're just
it's
not.
not the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, so the goal then for the feature would be like a a normal distribution model or like self distributing. What's the plan with that, do you think?
Yeah, it's just streaming service probably
Yeah.
distribution. Yeah.
Maybe with so we saw the little talk with what Avenida Productions, maybe with them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
I don't. I know they do their own films, and then I can't remember if they were saying they were distributing.
Yeah, I think they're launching that service in 2023, I
Their
believe.
their talk though was very informative, I think, very
Oh
helpful. It
yeah,
was nice being in tune with understanding other people in the industry and how they, are able to do funding or, be
Yeah.
successful with what they were doing. It was very informative.
Yeah,
yeah. That was
yeah.
interesting how she was saying they would go to universities because they had subject matter that was relative to the schools. So they would
Right.
have a screening, and I was like, oh wow, that's a whole different like business model. Um,
Absolutely, like licensing your film to either like libraries or the universities, going on like school tours. That was really good.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
yeah, yeah.
I just
Uh,
think it's great because I think for Mico, I think making a feature on a personal level, he's worked on so many other like projects and short films and stuff for other people. And he has all these screenplays he's written that, the budgets to make them are like dream budgets,
right.
those kind of screenplays he's written that I think for him, it was just a nice, I know it's like a nice victory of self for
Yeah,
him to be like, here's all a lot of the work I've done. I finally just want to do it right, do it professional and put it out there and just feel successful just for myself, and
totally.
if
And then
it goes,
it's
if it gets distributed, great. If
yeah.
if not, we're proud of ourselves. I think that it's just even out there, that he was able to express himself that way.
Yeah, and that's a great outlook and regardless of whether or not it gets picked up for distribution, it's like all a learning process and that'll be like a calling card to say, hey, I've done this, I've written other things, this is what I can do on this kind of budget. So it's all good things.
Right. Like
Yeah.
to, I think even from the first one he directed to now, like we've done 4 of the 6 films. The 4th one we just shot is the glue of all of them, the one of all the actors together in the room telling their stories. I feel I've seen such a, even like a professional experience difference in, oh, yes, of the first one he directed to now this 4th one. Like he's taken the reins more, and you could tell, and it
Yeah.
looks, you do a great job with the actors, you really do.
But that also comes to us, spending a really long time casting, and not just finding talented actors, but finding the right actor for the role. And then they're really bringing their A game, not just to, working with them, but with each other. And it just like elevates the whole film, finding the right cast and the right crew for your specific film. Like we might be an actor that we like working with, but maybe it's just not the right project, the next project.
Right. Yeah, that's so important, I think, coming from the acting side, to remind all the actors out there that it's not necessarily you or your acting talent. It's just might not be the right fit for this project, either with the other actors or a look or,
Right.
anything. It doesn't have anything, or not doesn't have anything, but you don't need to say, oh, I'm a terrible actor because I didn't get this part. Like, there are so many
Right.
factors.
Yeah, and I think for an actor, when it comes to auditions and, possible rejection and things like that, I think for an actor, like, it's almost like you have to develop more sides of yourself. Like, you're developing, these different people through the scripts, that you're one die, but you're different sides of the die when you're being like a villain, or you're being a, protagonist or whatever. That actors should definitely be aware to, when they walk away from an audition and they don't get the part, to, instead of feeling like rejected, be like, okay, what could I have done differently? Like,
Mhm.
what could I have said differently, acted differently? Like, let me try this in a unique way that I wouldn't normally do. And it pushes them, I think, to always look at an audition as a positive experience, a learning,
Yeah.
growing experience to
Always
become
a
a
learning.
better
Yeah.
actor. Like, the rejection shouldn't matter. It should be a positive thing,
If
regardless.
you get a call back, that's a win. I think that's a big W. Because whoever brought you in, they like you, they want to work with you. They're just trying to figure out if it's just the
Right.
right fit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little more about, like, since you guys have been on the casting side, where I'm assuming, was it self tapes?
So yeah, I can roll that out a little bit for you. So we'll put a call out um, on a couple of the main websites. I think you're gonna get, for each role, you're gonna get 5 to like 750 responses. Yeah,
Per role, right?
per role.
Yeah. Everyone
It's a
Um,
needs to
lot.
hear that.
Yeah, but when he accepts their request to submit, it's all about actually following through and submitting. We would have like 100 people respond to submit, but only 20 would actually do it out of the 100. And
You mean like you now have said, "Okay, I would like to see an audition tape from you," and then only 20 submit an actual tape?
so, let's say we start off with 600 people, and then we go through there and we make selects, and we go, okay,
for the right look of what we want for the part.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because sometimes you put you're like, oh, we need this type of person, or we need like a male actor in the 30s, and a woman in her 60s responds. You're
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
like, okay.
It's great, but like that's not what we're gonna look for. Yeah.
But
Sure.
so you start off with 600 and you go down, okay, these 300 people could potentially fit. So out of those 300 that you request, only maybe 175 will actually respond to it. So you've just gone from you know, 600 down to 175, and you're missing out just because you're not showing up.
Yeah.
And then out of those 175 that you'll request audition tapes or self tapes, and you know, then it's maybe down to 100 or less.
Wait, I
Oh,
have to stop you again because I feel like I'm not following something. Because you just said that the submitting to respond was a different step than the self tape. So is this like through an agent you're asking, or what is that
Um,
step right there?
what
Because on my end that I've seen, it's like we will submit to a breakdown and
an actor?
then,
Yeah.
yeah, like on Actors Access or Backstage, and then you get just a prompt with sides as the self tape. So I feel like I've missed a step based on what you were describing.
So I think it's all the same step. Is that some people don't respond? That's what I'm saying. It's like we'll start with
people will submit, but then they won't follow
So
through.
you're
so I'll
saying
put
you send out to 175 the sides to please submit your self tape, and then 100 respond.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. I was adding a step or something.
I think my numbers were a little off, but yeah, I don't think, I mean, 100, yeah, but I feel when it's actually people who follow through, I feel like the self tapes are down to like only 20 or 30 a roll, doesn't it feel like?
No.
Maybe it's only 20 or 30
Like
like
you see.
gems, it feels. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Maybe he goes through them all and he's like
Oh.
20 to 30, like this is what are like potentials, or even this one was a little funny. You want to just watch this one? Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we're going to do numbers. Cassie,
Yeah.
I love doing numbers.
He loves doing numbers. Yeah.
So if there's 100 people that respond to a self tape,
Okay.
half of those people don't do a good job. Like they don't take the time, or it's like it's a little unprofessional in the sense they didn't set it up, or the acting performance isn't
It's
just
just
right.
no disrespect. It's just they're just, you could tell they're not there yet with taking it serious enough. Where
Gotcha.
we're putting a lot of time, effort, and money. We need someone who's going to have the experience to
Sure.
reciprocate professionalism and all that. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
interesting
mean,
that you say that because I feel like we get a lot of self tape directions that are like, be in front of a solid wall, have good lighting, do the camera horizontally. And you're like, what self tapes are
oh,
people submitting that this isn't kind of just obvious? I don't know.
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I do think like Actors Access and stuff. You get most people that have been doing it a lot, but and maybe there was more like out of those 100, the quality of the
The
performance
performance. Yeah. Okay.
is like, you know, 50% of that is like they're good actors, and I I just feel like, you know, maybe some of the actors
Aren't
have
there yet.
are just starting, and you know they just need more experience, like Cassie's saying. But
And that's the harsh thing about auditioning. Like,
Sure.
there's some like, personal accountability. Like, I'm just not there yet, so let me work towards that.
that's
You
fine.
can't take it to heart or take it personal if you don't get a role. Like I said, that's always something that should like push you to learn more about yourself and a sense of self. Like, how could I portray this better next time I get that audition? And
Yeah,
Yeah.
push.
I think they say the same thing with like screenplays. As soon as you finish your first screenplay, write another screenplay.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
I've seen his older screenplays versus his newer, and even with that, you can see the difference in his writing, like the maturity or
Mm,
the intellect in the words, just things maturing as you get older, as you get more experienced with it. So,
sure. So take us
yeah.
back to the self tapes. If you're watching 100 self tapes in a row, do things become numb? Does it become really easy? Like people are popping out, like, oh, this person's performance was great. Oh, I thought what they did there was cool. What kind of sticks out to you for tapes?
Yeah, and I feel like I over making this feature, I've become a little harsher in the sense that, you know, it's like I don't want to. Before, you know, I might start with 100, and then at the end I have like 40. You know, but
Hmm.
now it's more like we have 20 because I'm like there are definitely actors that like pop out and you're like, oh, that's great. That's I would like to see them. And then when we're done, I think when we have actual auditions in person, we bring in 3 to 4 people, 5 max.
Right.
So I know our process is probably a little different compared to like a studio that's casting a lot of people, and so
Sure.
maybe they're bringing in a lot of people at a time. But for us, which is like an independent film, if you've made it to that audition, then we're spending an hour with each actor for the role. So you've gone from 600 to 4.
Yeah.
It's just that's a win. And like there's this actress that plays October, Gabrielle. She's amazing, and I mean, I think like 5-6 years ago she came in for something, and we didn't use her, but then we cast her in another film. I did the program, which was a short, and we brought her in for this one, for this audition. Did
That's
we bring in
awesome.
4 girls
4 girls.
for October? And so yeah, it's about building a relationship too. I knew
Totally.
like I wanted to work with her again at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, I want everyone to hear that when it's like, yes, you're auditioning for the role, but you're also auditioning for all future roles that person might do, because you might not be a good fit for that exact thing, or you might need, like you saying, a little bit more experience and growth, but you can still develop a
Or like
relationship
you
with
would like to
someone.
work with that
Right.
person. They're
Yeah.
not quite there yet, or they don't fit the part, but they have potential that we would like to see them on screen for us. And I
Totally.
think going back to like picking, like Mico said, we have had to get a little harsher with watching auditions because, like I said, we've done 4 films now where for each role, you know, maybe at first we spent like 5 to 6 hours watching like each one, but like now it's okay, like 20, 30 seconds in, if they're not
You can
bringing
get a
it to the
feeling.
table, we got to kind of do like, okay, next, we got to like keep it going. But I think what pops out to me, and this might just be me, but I think Mico too, and this is like a nice side note. Um, the acting talent and experience is definitely something that stands out, right? That's something you right away want to click and save as an A. Like, this is a potential. But I think what also stands out is when someone approaches the role completely differently than what everyone else is doing. Like, someone could be a Meryl Streep at the part and do it really well. Like, oh, this is a contender. Let's keep this person. And then you get this person who does the role that the other 100 people have not done that tone or that emotion to it yet. And even if their acting isn't like up there like the first person, we save that person because we're like, whoa, they read it differently and kind of approached it in a really unique way. And I think that's really interesting to find in actors, people approaching roles in a unique way that
Yeah.
the script isn't obviously giving out,
We want to
So,
make characters.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
cool.
cool just seeing people's self interpretations of characters. Like we might
Yeah.
think someone's going to do one thing and then someone played it a complete opposite way. We're like, whoa, that was actually kind of cool. Let's see what they can do in a callback. So,
Interesting. Yeah, we
yeah.
definitely hear from the acting side, like, make strong choices, and so
Or
that's helpful to hear. Well, when you get on set with the actors that you've chosen and you're saying you kind of like these unique choices or you're developing characters, how much collaboration is happening, like, between, you've written and now you're directing, and you might have it you're a certain way in your head. Is there a certain amount that you're willing to kind of do some give and take, or how is the process in dealing with actors?
I feel like my rule of thumb for a film is 90% is pre-production. So if we're in the casting, I'm picking 3 scenes that represent the character, and so that the character has to live within that triangle. So
Mm,
if they can hit all those 3 scenes, then you're like, okay, they have the character, and they have they can stretch in all those directions. And so then we do assignments, for them to like develop the character, and we talk back and forth.
Okay.
For this group therapy session, we sent them homework assignments from the doctor, and so and then we sent those to the doctor, and we had discussions about that, and they all have their own backstories. So that was really nice.
That's something he would create with the actors. Like once we picked, or even during auditions, he would be like, where do you think this kind of trauma or this emotion would actually come from the character? What would you think? And we like to get the actors' opinion on the role too, because they're the ones portraying it. It's nice to see what they're taking from themselves to, give us the character.
That's something I really want to see in an audition is
someone who has an opinion.
Yeah, and they're excited. I mean, you can just hear up to the auditions. We're already doing a lot of work, and so we want someone that's gonna like carry the film with us.
Yeah.
So they're excited and they're bringing ideas, and even if we don't use them or we don't like them, for the
Don't
character.
say don't like. You don't like them?
Well,
I know. Yeah, like even if we don't agree with what they think the root of something, there's ways of talking about it.
Yeah, but it's brainstorming. It's just like writing. You're writing ideas, and you don't use that idea, but it leads to another idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Your question was.
No, you totally did it about working with actors. No, it's great. I want to ask more about sorry, did you have something else to add about that?
I think you were saying like on set, and so we'll do a take on set, and then either we'll give another action where we just want to change it up, or to redirect where we're going, and then from there we could, as long as we have time, we're like, oh, do you want to try something different,
like a completely different emotion or different reaction? And
how much do you like different takes from actors? Because as someone who's like done the indie, very low budget filmmaking and having to edit myself, I'm like, oh, I kind of need things to match more than I would like just for editing purposes. But I also would love to have actors be able to have the freedom to play and do things differently. But just where I'm at right now, that's kind of been difficult.
Right.
I think as long as you have one that works and we have time on set, then
you just go for it.
Yeah. I think it depends on the character too. Like Joey would always bring something different.
Oh yeah, we had an actor who played someone a little more on the comedic, laid back, cool side, and he would improv a lot. He would try different things in his audition that weren't even there, but the way he would kind of show his versatility made him very appealing as someone like, oh, we'd like to work with him because he's going to bring different things to the table when we shoot him.
Cool.
And I will commend Mico by saying when we've done auditions, we spend like an hour with the actor to go over the root of the character, what they think of the character, them to do the scene a few times, where we've had actors tell us like, wow, we really see your passion, because they're so used to going to an audition where it's just
5 minutes.
Read the script, okay, done, next. And we actually sit with the actor and, get in depth so they can really bring like their best A game out to the audition. And we even do that on set. He'll take a moment if he's not getting the scene he wants or the performance he wants. He'll stop everything. He'll go talk to the actor. Actor's like, hey, like, let's do an exercise really quick. Like, let's talk really quick. And then the next scene, the next shot, they just bring it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's good to see the patience and
the time and patience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that goes a long way to giving actors more confidence in what they're doing, instead of just like doing a script and then, okay, now I guess I'll wait and see if I got it. We like to we respect their time,
It's so much work to get to production. Like we're saying, 90% is a pre-production on everyone's side. Yeah. And then you only give and then get the camera set up, all the lighting, all the crew like doing the makeup, and then you only give the actors one take. I know you're out of time. Like it is. It's. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's better to, and that comes back to getting good actors. Is that they're going to nail some parts, on one or two takes. That way, later when we're having problems, that you go, okay, let's do a couple more takes because it's important here.
Right.
And, yeah.
Cool. Well, I want to talk more about pre-production because you said 90% is pre-production. You guys have your own production company. So how much time are you spending? Well, I guess because Bearskin's in different installments, so maybe it's kind of a tricky question. But how much time would you say goes into planning and everything before shoot day? Or is that just it's
That's
too
every
hard?
day.
I don't mean
Oh,
to be so. I don't mean to be so smiley about it. Yeah, it's like,
I mean, I think it's like I'm always in pre-production, and
mm.
there's moments we try to find to enjoy ourselves. But yeah,
oh,
so let's say
so much. Only two more.
it's a couple months for
For each
pre-production.
installment.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's well organized.
Yeah.
Miko's very good about, like, even when we brought like the this stuff over to the editor to start working on, he had like all the script with the shots written out in the script and where he wanted each shot to change to like he's very well prepared. But yeah, pre-production, I mean, he's doing the budgeting, we're doing the location
We're wearing a
hunting,
lot of hats.
we're wearing a
Yeah.
lot of, we're doing the casting, we're doing the location scouting, we're going to Goodwill and furniture stores and stuff. We're just doing everything, where then when we get to shoot day, we're like, oh, this is nice. We can just sit here for a minute.
Shooting's the easy part.
Yeah, shooting's the easy part, big time. Pre-production it's given me such a respect
Mm.
to movie makers, because like I said, I've grown up loving movies. I love like Wizard of Oz and Lord of the Rings and all this stuff. And then to actually be behind camera and see, when you see the credits at the end and all these names that have done different things, you're like, wow, like
So many
there's so many
names.
talented people
Yeah.
working on something for it to all be one masterful, film. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, are there any, so what would you say your process is like because I guess you're doing like storyboarding and shot lists and
Okay, so not writing process, just pre-production
I mean, I'd love to
process.
hear about writing process too, but whichever you want to take it in.
Okay. Okay,
Give
let's
it
let's say
all
the
to me.
script's let's say the script is done.
Okay.
So you have to get to, but there's going to be some minor changes, but you have to get to a spot where you've uh, given the script to plenty of people to get your opinion on it, and it's tight. And then I do a budget, and I break it down first,
So
like the
you're
film.
like you're being the line producer, figuring
Yeah.
out what all you need.
And so I do a preliminary budget first, just to get a general idea of like, okay, how much is this movie going to cost? Because then I'm like, okay, what elements or resources do I have available, and who can I reach out to? It just gives you an idea, like, oh, can I pull this off? And then after that, you're like, okay, yes, I want to move forward with it. Then we're doing a final budget where you go in and you highlight like all the elements, all the props and stuff. And you're not doing like everything, but you're looking in the script for things that are unique, or maybe something that I haven't done before. And you go, okay, I need to talk to someone to find out how much that would cost. And then usually the budget.
A lot of phone calls.
Yeah, a lot of phone calls.
And emails.
Looking stuff online.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where you have the budget, and it usually falls around there. Some things become cheaper, and then some things become more expensive as you shoot. But it falls in there. So then after we have the budget, then we go into casting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe location scouting, maybe.
Yeah, depending on what. Those are the two things that you really have to lock down first before you can start really going into pre-production.
Yeah, I would think
Yes.
location scouting would be such a huge like budget factor because it's like finding the right location and then how much does that cost per day, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it just depends on where it's at too. Where if it's close to your crew,
Mm.
then you don't have to pay them as much. But if it's farther away,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pay them more because otherwise they don't want to show up.
Yeah. But I think like I said, the respect goes hand in hand. Like we did a film up in the mountains, and it was a 3-day shoot. It was up in the mountains, and we realized a lot of people live in LA, a lot of people live in Hollywood, and we're like, how are we going to make them come up to the mountains 3 days for shooting? So Mico rented out an entire cabin motel for all the cast and crew for 3 days. So everyone
Wow.
was there, woke up, got ready, and everyone was there on set for the call time. So it goes like we have to give that respect to people with their commute, with
Yeah.
their lives. And
Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
lot about like respect too because yeah, the hotel's expensive, but if people got to make that drive every morning,
They're gonna get stuck in traffic,
Yeah.
they're gonna be grumpy. They're gonna
right.
they want to wake up and make a movie.
Right.
And good crafting. We always want them good, happy with the good.
Always love some good crafty. Well,
Yeah, the tummies have to be happy, and then their mindset has to be good. If they're driving far or whatnot.
yeah.
We like to make things accommodating for people working for us because I know if we give that energy to them, they're going to give us their best back.
Yeah, that's super nice. It's a nice investment into mindset of everybody and the whole project itself better for it. Um,
Yeah. A lot of oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna ask if you had something else to say on that because I was gonna ask something else.
Yeah, I think it's just like a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort goes into it that if someone's not feeling good or in a bad not in a bad mood but just like they're not feeling good energy from the set or from the people making the film, that's going to show through the rest of your shoot,
Yeah,
whether they're a crew member, whether they're an actor. You need to give them that kindness and respect going in. Otherwise, the project it could become a fail just because you had one little cog in the machine not doing as well as they should or
right.
wanting to, like they don't want to be there. That people feel that
It'll
energy.
permeate throughout. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
crew.
right. So good crafty. Back to
The
that.
fed
Yeah.
crew is the happy crew. Coffee
Yes,
for everyone.
exactly.
What Cassie was saying is making yourself available to
Mm,
you just want to make sure that your cast and crew can feel like they can approach you.
Mm,
If there's a problem, or sometimes you just see like something's a little bit off, you just kind of check in with them. And small adjustments can go a long way. Everyone's got their own life, and you know, they're there because they love filmmaking, but they also have stuff that they're bringing with them for the day.
sure.
And like, I mean, we have bad days too, and
yeah. And that one up in the woods, like we got up at I got up at 5 a.m. 3 days in a row to make like 15 breakfasts for burritos for people. Like I was ready to just like, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I gotta always, I think people realize working with us on set, we're kind of like a nice little stronghold for our cast and crew. If someone's having a bad day or just needs like some sort of like mental hug, they'll be like, "Hey, Cass, this is how I'm feeling." I'm like, "Oh, it's okay." Like I like to give them that
Aw.
energy. He'll go to Mico and he was like, "Go talk to Cass. She'll help you out." And it's nice to just the people we've worked with. They love talking to us. Like they
Yeah.
feel like we've made friends. Like it's like this nice little film family that like people respect and enjoy our company, and the same energy goes back to them. So I
No,
think that's really important.
it sounds so lovely. Like your sets and the atmosphere that it sounds like you create and that you hold space for everybody. I mean, it just sounds so lovely and like that you would take the time and patience. So Yeah, thank you for that. And um, I want to ask about, again, with the pre-production and getting everything ready. Of course, finances is always the
Oh,
big issue with indie filmmakers. So, are you doing crowdfunding or maybe self-financing? What's your process for that?
Yeah, it's a lot of self-financing for this feature, but we do have an investor, but it's and I have done crowdfunding before, which is kind of, I feel like the crowdfunding is for me, it's a little rough. Like I did something with a couple of years ago with the YMCA where um, we were doing this mentorship where we worked with, I think it was like 25 kids. It was called the Youth Institute in Long Beach, and so they're high school kids, and so we taught. I think it was like 10 courses on filmmaking, the different crew positions. And at the end of the year, or the end of the program, I'm sorry, it was in the summer, they came onto our film set and they kind of shadowed under someone, right? So, that Youth Institute, they worked something out with us, teaching the kids to help us with the
Yeah.
financing. But we also did a crowdfunding, and we even had that like kid angle, like we're working with kids, like,
Right. How would you not want to support that?
right.
yeah.
Um, but it's still tough.
Yeah.
Right.
Crowdfunding is tough. Yeah.
We've talked about like if we were to do, I think an important thing about crowdfunding, especially those speakers we saw at the
Yeah.
festival, um, I think crowdfunding is important for having your loved ones and your community kind of aware of the project you're working on.
Yeah.
So although we're not doing crowdfunding right now, we've considered doing crowdfunding maybe towards the end of the feature being made as a way to get our loved ones and friends and the community kind of engaged. Like, oh, this is going to happen.
It's like
Whatever
part of
those
your
last
marketing plan.
Right. Whatever those last couple little things we need to like touch up on to complete the feature, that would be a nice crowdfunding goal because then people are engaged and excited about it and the film is going to come out soon, you
Yeah.
know.
And I've heard
So,
it's nice that you also kind of already have the film. So even if you're maybe still in post-production or you're going to use the funds for like festivals or marketing, that kind of thing, people can it's kind of like you've already put your money where your mouth is, so people are more willing maybe to provide the finances when they're like they can see the finish line.
Right.
right, exactly. So we've kind of just held off on the crowdfunding for now, but
Yeah.
we consider it when we want people to be excited when it's almost done. So
Oh, that's awesome. Well, do you guys have any advice on like getting investors or talking to people? Or are these just maybe friends or business connections you've already
yeah,
I
had?
just,
that's the plan.
oh, yeah, I definitely did that. I mean, finding an investor, I think, is just swinging. You,
Yeah.
you have to, it's a, it's a numbers game, but like we got to the point where we had some pieces of the film to show, and so we had a leg to stand on,
Right.
and it
Mm,
was quality work for those films, and so yeah, that they could at least see where the film was going.
And like the quality of it and everything. But I
But
just go ahead.
I just we did, like as Cassie was saying, we had a very like clear investment plan. It
That we
was
wrote up and
it was 4 pages, and I had it drawn up, but then I had someone professionally make it aesthetically looking well.
yeah.
Aesthetically looking well. Look
We
aesthetically, yeah.
got you. We got you.
yeah,
That's why I hired someone.
yeah. And I
uh,
think even like with investing, like that goes hand in hand with actors going to auditions. Like we met with several investors that liked us a lot, liked talking to us, but they weren't interested in the project. Like,
Mm,
that's still a form of like rejection is even kind of like looking for that help and you're not always going to get it and that's okay. But we were fortunate enough to find someone who dug the process of movie making and the story. Like Mico sent him the script, and you gotta, especially with horror, like a psychological thriller, there's only certain people that are going to be intrigued by that, that
Yeah.
want to invest in something like that.
Yeah,
So
and it's a dark piece.
yeah, it's yeah, it's pretty dark.
Yes.
But oh
Well,
yeah,
is
you've seen
there
it. That's nice. Yeah.
yeah. I've seen that part, but is there like a website, or are you just like cold calling or emailing people and that's how you got those meetings?
There's no,
Like
it's
connections,
some
friends.
connections, some
Yeah.
websites. It's just like putting it out there. I don't think, yeah, I don't think there's, I think everyone has to find their own avenue that
Right.
works for them.
It's
Yeah.
just putting yourself out there, like Mico said. It's just being like, hey, this is what we do. We're in the middle of making a feature. And, maybe a friend is like, oh, I know someone who might want to help with that. Like, how much more money do you need? It's just
Mm,
putting your piece out there to people and seeing who is interested. It's not even trying to get these investors. It's
That's important. Yeah, what you're saying there is like, don't approach it as
looking for an investor.
right, like trying to get money.
mm.
Just be
Right.
genuine about yourself
Mhm.
and the project that you and the story that you want to tell. And you have to talk to people like they're not investing.
Okay.
You just have to tell them like you're sharing the story. Like this is my story. This is what I want to tell. If you're interested, awesome. Just put it out there, and because otherwise it doesn't come off. It doesn't come off right. If you're like, hey, do you want
It's
to
like, what
give
can I
us
get from you?
right?
Right.
You want to build relationships.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I think even what you're saying about just putting yourself out there, because I know I sometimes have this limiting belief, and I've talked with friends that it's like hard to share your stuff and what you're working on. There's like this little insecurity and voice of like, well, what if people don't like it, or all these
yeah.
list of things that you could say. So even just showing up, putting yourself out there, this is what I'm
Mhm.
working on. Like otherwise people can't find you, people can't help and come if they don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for having us on your
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just think that's the reality to life that I think people don't understand is that if you're pursuing anything, there's always, especially in Hollywood, if you're pursuing anything in film, there's always going to be rejection. There's always going to be bumps in the road or hurdles or walls. Like, that's a part of life. And that's
Yeah.
okay. It's how much you keep putting out there to be able to like get those wheels going. It might not be at the pace you want, but I think persistence and, like he said, being genuine, having, like, to me, I think being genuine and showing gratitude, even for people taking the time to listen to your project, not even invest, but just
Listen.
listen to you
Yeah.
and you talk with them and everything. Just have gratitude for that time with people, because a lot of things, even though there's a lot of social media and everything goes viral, a lot of things are still word of mouth. A lot of
Yeah.
things is just people talking to each other.
And ask, if you're talking to someone, really listen, like find out what projects interest them. What are they excited about?
What do they want to invest in? Like, if you're looking
Mm.
for an investor and
Yeah.
you meet someone, like, well, what do you want?
And,
What are you looking to do?
and if it's not right for you, don't be afraid to say like, hey, that's not the type of films I make, but my friend over here does
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Pass it on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Um,
cool. We're all in this community together.
Yeah, we all want each other to succeed.
Totally.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
That's. Oh, sorry.
oh, no. If you have more, please.
There was something I wanted to share. We were talking about a topic, and something like I feel like there's kind of like three parts of like making a film too, or like one, you have to give it time. You have to like, if you want to do acting or making films, you have to dedicate a lot of your time. You have to be greedy in that sense.
Mm.
Um, you have to sit at home a lot and work on your craft.
It's a little seed. Like, everything should be organic and grow, even if it's, what you're pursuing, a relationship, a business, passion. just
Yeah.
takes time and nurturing, you know?
Yeah. Well, so with pre-production, um, Desensitized is the installment of Bearskin that I've seen that is
Mhm.
phenomenal. And there's so much like props and like you were saying the set design and things that went into kind of building this world and the costumes, like a lot gives it the texture and sets the tone really quickly. So are there any kind of like how do you go about painting that picture? And um are there any like, you know, prop houses, or you said like you're going to Goodwill, like what's kind of the resources and things you might grab in order to bring that to life?
I mean, I feel like I gave Cassie an idea. So she does the production design. I gave her but she just ran with it. And we would go to places together.
We would go to places. I would look for stuff on OfferUp. I would look for stuff at Goodwill. I've had people tell me about like multiple like Facebook groups of people just getting rid of things or trading things or
Mm,
these prop houses. We did have to go to a prop house and rent some things that were maybe not everyday items, as you saw in the film, like stuff that, you know, I had to put on set that you couldn't just find at a Target, you know? So,
right.
I think if it's the same price or maybe a little bit more, it's always better to buy the prop or the set
Okay.
dressing piece. Because one, you'll have it if you need to do some kind of pickups. And then two, you can alter it to fit your film exactly.
right,
Mm,
And,
versus renting, right?
and Goodwill, production design is
Comes so much stuff.
yeah, production design is about time. You have to have the day off. Just like, okay, we're going to like 5 Goodwills today.
mm,
You know, you got a list of 20 things and you're going to find 15.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what helps the production design become successful is an idea of the location. Like you said, location scouting is so important because then once you get the location locked, that's when you really can start like visualizing
right.
everything. Because there were different locations we had seen for that film that the pieces I chose might have been completely different. You know, it's just what is going to be aesthetically pleasing to the location and to the story for the pieces. And there were a lot of things in that film I actually had to make. Like I ordered things to, I don't want to give anything away, but there's like jars of some, you know, like body parts and stuff that, you know, I had to buy things to make it look like there was flesh and food coloring and different things to make it look real.
Yeah.
So it's very creative and fun, like doing some of those crafts. It is.
So you know those, you watch like a Bob Ross episode
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's like drawing a line here and then he's, making a bush and you're just watching it and then you're like, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, there's a whole painting there. Right?
Like he'll
Like,
draw a big line down. You're like, you're messing it up. And then it's like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
no, that's great.
he snuck up on you. Like you didn't
Yeah.
realize you were just watching him draw lines. And I think that's what Cassie does is we're going,
Thanks.
picking items up, and then all of a sudden you look at the set and you realize this suitcase over here matches this teddy bear. They're not the same color, but they all live in that same world.
yeah. That's awesome.
Piece by piece, she's making that world.
Thanks. I'm very OCD. So for me, like I'm like color, texture, like you said, just there's so many different things to make sure things are aesthetically pleasing to the eye, like colors that like balance each other out. Even when we've done because for the fourth one we just shot, which is the group therapy room of all the characters, I did costume as well. And same thing, you have to look at the location you have locked. You have to look at each character, like what they would wear, and make sure it looks aesthetically pleasing to the location, fit the character. They're different enough from each other. And I was very proud of that when we looked at everyone. Everyone has their like their colors, their patterns, their
Hmm.
textures, and it still works with the room.
They look like they belong in the movie together.
Yeah,
But they're still their own individual.
and like you said, it's not the typical artist of painting or drawing. It's a type of art that you're being creative and cohesive with furniture or with clothing, and it's
Yeah,
still art.
it's
So,
all in the details, and I think
right,
sometimes we don't even realize that, but the importance of like the color palette and like you're saying,
right.
all the
Things
furniture,
need to
costumes,
balance.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, I wanted to get back to you said your writing process because we decided to have the finished script. But are you writing every day? You have like a daily practice, or you just when you come up with an idea, you might set out like I'm going to write this month kind of thing? How does that work?
Yeah, I think before when I was in the writing group, because I was mostly just focusing on writing,
Okay.
then it was I was writing every day because we would make sure every week we bring anywhere from a couple to a dozen pages to the writing group, like polished work. But now I'm in the stage of writing, pre-production, production, or so they're phases. But if I'm in the writing phase, and it's not like a gig, it's a spec or something that I'm doing personally.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, at first, it's an idea that just hits, and then I just like brew on it. I don't write anything. I just let it, and I go, okay, am I so excited about this idea that I think I could write 100 pages?
That you'll
If
dedicate the time and effort to doing it.
Yeah, and also, does the story is there enough in that idea that I
Oh.
don't think I'm gonna fall short. I don't want to start an idea that I think like, oh, I don't think I can write 100 pages. It's I got to be super excited about the idea that like, oh, I could write 150 pages and trim a bunch out. So once I get that, and I'm like, yes, this is a new story that I want to work on. Then I just free write. Just be creative. Don't care
Hmm.
about the order. Don't just write scenes, write dialogue, write descriptions, just any kind of like images that come to your mind that make you like really excited. And then when you get like a nice chunk and you're feeling like, oh, I have pieces of the story there, then I go and I write a outline from beginning to end. You know, we'll just say like breaking it up into 3 acts, and what's going to happen. In certain parts of the screenplay, certain things should happen, and I make sure I'm hitting all the like the main points of that. And there's something missing. That's okay. Just move on. What's important is knowing your beginning and your ending, where you want to go with the story. And then after that, I start at the beginning and I write to the end. And if there's a section again that I'm unsure about, I, I just write a note like this type of scene is missing and move on. Don't like bog yourself
Don't
down.
get writer's block. Just move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep it
And it's
flowing.
very,
yeah.
don't worry about any grammar or anything like that.
Oh yeah. I'm his grammar. I'm his spell checker. He just will like do everything. I'm like, okay, red line,
Yeah,
dash.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
through it. I'm like, I got you.
And I always write by hand.
Okay, I was gonna ask that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, always write, like, especially when the first time you do any scene, I always write by hand because there's just like something about, you write a line, you're like, no, you scratch that out. You're just quickly writing notes on the side. You don't stop. You're going to come back to the notes, and then just keep going. Then you get beginning to end, and um, then you type it up. You put it in final draft, and then you start to see the pieces that are missing. And you kind of like, for me, I go back to like my notes, like studying notes, and you kind of see like, oh, what should be here, and you look at other movies and say, okay, well, this is the type of scene um, that's missing. What does that look like in other films? What kind of
Mm.
structure is for this film?
Like references are okay. Like
Yeah.
inspiration and references like are okay to use. You're not completely copying the person, but you
Oh
need
yeah,
some
but it's just
inspiration to pull.
it's to also to understand what is it, what is this scene that's missing. Then you can go, okay, now I can rewrite that a different way.
Can you
And
give
then
any
understand.
particular advice around like the rewrite? Because I know that's where I really struggle with like all the old perfectionist tendencies of me being like, I want to write it out perfectly from each sentence, the
That's
get-go. And
me.
yeah, and
I would
it's
totally get that.
to be like, oh, I'm missing a character in my first draft, or I'm missing a scene. Like but it's been so hard to get to the end of a script because I won't let myself just keep flowing
Move
with it.
on,
So
right?
Yeah.
yeah, some advice
Uh,
about like the
oh, you
revision
might write a
process.
scene that you're not going to even use at the end, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get bogged down on it, because then you're going to write all this stuff, and then if you spend a lot of time perfecting a scene, it's going to be even harder for you to cut out later, or a character to
Right.
cut out. You know,
Yeah.
as you keep going through drafts, the bumps start like smoothing out a little bit more. And if you really like something, you like some dialogue, you like some character. I have this like hard line at the end of the script, and I put it past the ending. So it's like, oh, I love this. And then as you're writing, you find, okay, Colin said this line here, and I love it, but it doesn't work anywhere. And then all of a sudden you find in like the fifth draft, oh, the mentor should say that instead.
Hmm.
Like you still get to keep the little piece that you love, but you find a place for it to live.
Just letting it be like a lot more malleable, I think, would be
Yeah.
helpful for me to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happens is there's this list of things at the end that I want in the story, and they slowly find their home. And then there's, these things that don't find a home, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Those, you get half of the stuff that you really wanted in there,
Oh,
and you just
cool.
figure out that it doesn't fit in the story.
And you've
Yeah, we've
got,
had
oh, sorry. Go,
no,
Cassie, go.
no, it's good. I feel like even like last night when we went to the We Make Movies group and they read one of Mico's script, it's not that they were struggling, but I could definitely see like with the narration, like Mico's very romantic with his grammar, his word choices, very heavy handed. Like it's a thick script. Like anything he writes is very descriptive, gives really good visuals. Like, so it's not always easy to read, but what I think is important as like a creative writer is like he said, if you like Kaitlin writes something really great and you want to use it and you're like, oh, this is just beautiful wording, beautiful description, whatever. He said, put it at the end, and then it's cool to just like plug it in where you can. It's really nice to see people write things out that are still very beautiful and not, you don't have to be very short and very modernized with your writing, and that's what I appreciate about Mico's writing. People where you're like, wow, it was very poetic, and
But
it's like, yeah, like
on,
it's
on that
good.
sense, also be concise.
Yeah.
Like you see that, because I do, I'll do a budget, but I have to read the script before I do the budget.
And do a budget for someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you see in dialogue and in action the same
I feel like he's falling off screen. Sorry. I'm like, come over here, come closer, act like you like me. Come here.
You see the same thing. The actors say I'm sorry, not the actor. The characters say the same thing 3 different ways. Trim your dialogue.
Yeah.
Make it concise. Make the note that's great is when you have action and it has like 4 or 5 sentences, and then all of a sudden you can realize you can say it in two sentences. And that just makes it easy to read for anyone in the crew, any actors, and you might not even know it. Like you're reading a script and you're like 20 pages in, and all of a sudden you're like exhausted from reading the script, because there's just all this like, just a script is not a book. You have to, instead of saying, oh, like just like if we described all this room and maybe you can just use 1 or 2 words.
Right. And let the reader, the audience, I even think it's important when we watch movies, sometimes there's that like, what is it, like unnecessary dialogue? Like the actors are saying things that like don't need to be said.
Like too much exposition.
Yeah, too much exposition.
Yeah, explaining everything.
Yeah, where, if the writer is in the narration, at least like painting a picture for the reader, the audience, when you do finally film it, like let the actor show it. It
Mm.
doesn't always have to be like, I watched this horror movie the other day and something bad was going on, and the victim or the person trying to get away was like explaining to the audience what was going on as they were afraid. I'm like, I don't believe a character is about to be killed but would stop and be like, "Oh, they're, turning into like this thing right now because of this DNA, blah blah blah." Like, I
Yeah.
don't need you to tell me that. Let the story show me
And
that,
that's the good thing about film is it's such a visual medium that we have to be able to
Right.
see it more than have people saying and describing all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So I think writing is awesome if you get to like describe more and have less dialogue sometimes. Like sometimes less is more, like a character saying one or two words, but
Mm.
you paint a picture with the rest of the writing.
And from writing advice, if you can find 4 people at least every time you write a new scene or a new script that you trust their opinion and they know what they're doing. Because you could get a note, you could say like, do you understand what's going on in this scene? And if they're like, oh yeah, you're kind of being repetitive, then you need to trim. Or if they're confused, then like,
Add more.
yeah, maybe you need a little bit of exposition, but that
Right.
balance is tough.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Well, I
Um,
saw on your website that you've got like a bunch of spec scripts and are is that all stuff that you are going to produce with opening image, or are you like pitching that to people hoping that it'll be sold? Walk me through
uh,
kind of that process of when you're writing scripts.
yeah, I mean, I feel like some of the screenplays I'm open to, someone else producing, and some of them are more personal. Um, we have, I think, after this one, we have kind of like 2 screenplays that are an option for the next kind of like budget level. So yeah, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
No, you're cool.
What am I doing?
I was asking about the spec scripts and if maybe you're like pitching and doing that kind of thing, or you just knew that they were something that you wanted to make yourself.
I do feel like I used to pitch them a lot, and send out like query letters,
Yeah.
and I've been optioned, but it's such a long process, that I feel like we kind of just shifted into like
You're
producing
like, I just want to
stuff
make it.
ourselves.
It needs to
Right.
happen.
People don't like to read stuff anymore.
Mm.
Miko told me too. Like, it's back then, like you could easily like have your script and wait outside a Warner Brothers studio. Like, read my script. Read my script.
Before me,
Yeah,
before
before
my
like our
time.
time. But it's just like, Miko's a little old souled with that, where he will write out a script, and I tried to give even like a page or two for someone to read, and people just don't want to take the time to read scripts anymore. They want visuals. They want instant
Mm.
gratification of a TikTok short instead showing,
And there's
Yeah,
probably
but
just like so much content and stuff,
right,
and now
this
it's all
this is the
right,
short.
process. You query someone. You query a bunch of people. A couple people with like log lines, and then a couple people will respond and say, "Okay, yeah, send us a summary, a one-page summary." And you have to have like some accolades attached with the script, and then like, and then maybe like a month later they'll get back to you and be like, okay, now send us like uh, a treatment, right? We're gonna read,
Mm.
and so then you send them a treatment, and then and then maybe after that they ask for the screenplay.
You're like, don't you
Yes.
just want the first 10 pages or something? Like,
Right.
yeah,
If read the first 5 pages, if you don't like it, that's fine.
right.
oh
Um,
man. Um,
What kind of stuff do you like to write, Caitlin?
yeah.
well, like right now I'm writing this would be my first feature, but now I'm kind of like getting these other ideas that I'm like, maybe I'll venture off into those for a little bit, but it's based on a true story. Um, and it'd be a period piece. So I just feel like there's a lot of research that I'm having to do around it that's kind of holding me up.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, the whole getting what you were talking about, the structural elements in place, it's all very new to me to put it out into feature form. So that would be more like a historical inspirational drama kind of thing, but I also really like comedy.
Okay.
Nice. I love period pieces.
Yeah.
I'll watch them just because I'm like, oh, it took place 150 years ago. I'm watching it, you know. Yeah.
Love that.
I don't care what genre it is. I'm like, I'll watch it just to like, because I appreciate like the clothes, the design,
It
the set.
definitely is not like a low budget when you make it a period piece. So that's, something to
Right.
keep in mind for writers.
Right. Exactly. Like, oh, this takes place in, this time period. It's like all that stuff is not going to be cheap, yeah, to make or to do.
But it's
Yeah.
also your it's just literature too. You write something. I enjoy when someone just reads it.
Or
Yeah.
he's even considered, he's written a couple horror pieces that are period pieces that are a little farther back in time, that before even considering doing it as a film, he's considering trying to hire someone to do it as a graphic novel first.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so, like, there's some really cool period piece screenplays he's written, and that's the avenue he wants to take with the screenplays, to get it, the storyboard kind of done out as a graphic novel and published and all that. And graphic novels these days, everyone wants to make a movie of those anyway. So
Yeah.
maybe that's a nice
Yeah,
little.
exactly. You're like, I already have the IP. Here you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Were there any projects that you guys are working on? I know you're finishing up Bearskin, but anything that you want to talk about and let people know about?
I would just say, yeah, bare skin. I guess
Those are,
Yeah.
we have two more of the shorts, two more of the stories left. We have about 70 minutes of the movie done.
So exciting.
Yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
I'm really looking forward to seeing it all put together.
Thanks. We're excited to show you. And we're excited, hopefully, to work with you too one day. That would be so nice.
Oh my gosh, I would love that, especially after you guys just described your whole process. I'm like, this sounds like heaven.
I guess that's something I'm curious about. I guess we have worked with people where we have heard, I don't want to talk negatively, but like some horror stories on set, like just people's energy with each other on set, how like that can make or break an experience for someone, and
Absolutely.
it's just been so nice to work with people that get along and work with people that, like I said, respect us, we respect them. What is it like out there, I guess, for actors and people? It just seems more often than not they're not dealing with that.
Yeah, well, I think it just depends. But a lot of people, I think, especially these lower budget things, there is such a concern about money that then there becomes a concern about time. So then you're not taking the time to, like, all the time goes into that camera setup. And so then it's like, okay, so you've been waiting around forever. And then now it's like, okay, come in, do this. And then I think a lot of people just don't have the experience yet directing actors, and everyone has a different process with that. So maybe they're not able to get the performance that they want, and they don't really know how to communicate that. Um, but I mean, it just depends. It's all a mixed bag, right? But
Right.
the time that you guys were describing that you put into it and the collaboration, like that's pretty rare, I think.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
That feels good, because I think Mico just approaches it in a way I think would be the right way to approach it. But until we've been working with so many people telling us, like, wow, we really appreciate this about you guys. Like, oh, good. Like, shouldn't everyone
Yeah.
be like,
I love the whole process. So I love shopping for props. I love casting.
It's
I
a
love
lot
doing
of
the
work, but we
costume.
love it.
Yeah.
And someone did say to us, it's not to sound, again, negative, but they're like, by the end of it, you don't want to hate your own movie, but they're like, you pretty much make your movie 4 times. You first write it, that's a process.
Mhm.
Then pre-production, that's a process. You're making the film, then filming it, and then post. You're making the movie 4 times, where you don't want to get sick of your own work,
Yeah.
and just
And it can change so much between those different times too.
right. There's been times we've been wanting to just be like, like, like scream into a pillow, like, and I'm like, we got this, you know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very stressful
Yeah, it is stressful. It is.
I
because
think
you pick a deadline, and all of a sudden everything has to be ready by that deadline, and
mm,
everything's funneling in.
And then by the time we get to set, like I said, we're just like, oh,
Oh yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah, this is so nice. And then you have to live through post-production.
yeah.
Right. We, you know, watching the film like 100 times to get, you know, edited how we want. Oh gosh, I know every millisecond of this now. Like you don't want to get tired of it, you know.
I feel from a producing standpoint, when you're on set, you just have a fire extinguisher. You're just sitting there. If everything you did your pre-production, you're sitting there and you're just
Yeah.
anytime there's a little fire. Yeah.
Oh gosh. No, I love that how you guys said like it sounds like a really nice atmosphere where you take care of everybody. So I'm sure everybody that is able to work with you appreciates that.
I hope
Well,
so.
I
Thank you.
feel like I've taken up so much of your time. I feel like I could talk to you guys forever, but we'll kind of
Same. We
I
talked your
know.
ear off.
No, but I love it. We're gonna have to do like a part 2 to this because this has been so fun.
Oh, sure. Yeah. We really enjoyed, I think both of us enjoyed talking to you a
Yeah,
lot.
it was
Yeah.
nice.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I want to end by this is the Hungry Artist podcast, and I want to ask each of our guests, what is your recipe for success?
Um, recipe for success. Okay, let's just
Do
start
you want
off.
me to go first so you can think about
I'll just start off with
it?
saying that you have to give yourself. You can have to dedicate a lot of time to it. Yeah, you can take it from there.
I guess this goes hand in hand with other avenues I've taken that I enjoy. Like I've done things like video game streaming and all that kind of stuff where, you know, when you play a video game and at the end, you know, people say GG, like good game, or when you were a kid, you'd always hit good game, and hit each other's hand. To me, like I think the two G's, I use that as like a mantra. I remember like to always be genuine and always have like be grateful. So I think when you go into any type of passion, you know, especially in filmmaking, you have to give your genuine self and you have to be grateful for everything. Even like I said, if it's an audition that you didn't get, like a part you didn't get, or you didn't get an investor or whatever, you got to just be grateful for like the time and energy you're spending because that is going to build up for you. So I just remember that those two G's is genuinity and gratitude. So
I
yeah.
love that. Well,
Thanks. It's a good
thank
game in the end, you know.
Right.
it's a good
I was going to say
Yeah.
a story like a moral story, the tortoise and the hare.
Mhm.
Because I've met a lot of talented people, you know, as I've been working, but they give up.
Mm.
You
It's
know,
about showing up.
and it's been a long process to kind of get
Yeah.
where I am. And so if you're, you know, you have to hone your skills. You have to give yourself. You don't, you know, you need to have the time. You know, so if it's some kind of job that you can give some of your time back to, steal some of your time back. You need to have time for your craft. You need to have skill, and you need to have some connections. And if you don't have the skill, that's fine. You can get it over time. You can teach yourself. You can find other people. So those two kind of go hand in hand. And then you need to make the connections. Either if you don't have any to start off with, that's fine, but you can grow that. And I think that like the tortoise and the hare story is great because, you know, there's people out there that are very talented, or they have the assets or the connections or the resources. They don't take advantage of it. They don't show up to the game like we're talking about.
They get burnout.
Yeah, we've had people for casting, we call in and we do the casting down here in Long Beach, and I do it. I mean, we live here, but I kind of do it down here just to see if people will show up, to see if they're
If they'll
dedicated.
spend, you know, that little extra effort of, okay, I have to drive an hour instead of 30 minutes to the audition.
Yeah.
Like, we want to just see, like, you know, that speaks volumes if someone is not able to go to an audition, not because they don't have a ride or anything, but like I can't make it, and not willing to reschedule.
Rescheduling's fine.
Yeah,
Like, hey, do you have another audition day? Like, I have something going on that Saturday, or it's. But we've had people like, oh, I'm not gonna drive that far for the audition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we probably don't know if you're gonna give enough effort on
Right.
set for a week with us,
Yeah.
So that's just important. But yeah, I mean, Mico spent 10 to 15 years writing before he even started filming anything, like for his work. Like, yeah, the Count Hines thing you saw and all that, like little projects or things for other people. But like, he spent all of his like childhood and teen years watching movies, his 20s and early 30s writing movies. And now, like, we're a little later in life and now he's doing it. Now he's filming it because, it's okay to take your time and build up that masterpiece you want to do.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Well, thank
You're
you guys.
so awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time and this wonderful conversation. It's been amazing. Where can people find you and see what you're doing and keep in touch?
Well, you can go on my website, which is just micomontes.com.
With an S, Mico Montes.
MICOMONTES. If you can, see some stuff on there. If you really want to see some of the feature early, you can go on the Patreon, which is openingimage.com, and you can get some sneak peeks. We're about to
some of the stories.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then, and if someone wants to reach out, I'm happy to talk to people.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all said we're in our little community and we're supporting each other. So,
right.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Kaitlin.